Ladies and gentlemen, today's video I am going to be telling you who I believe the greatest quarterback of all time on every team is. This was actually recommended in the comments from yesterday's video, and I'm so sorry. I'm trying to find your name. I can't do it, but I appreciate the idea, and obviously I think it's a great one. Another thing is a lot of people wanted me to do every team's most overrated player. That's gonna get me a ton of heat, like unnecessary heat, because people just don't have a sense of humor on here, so 4,000 likes and I'll do it. Anyway, couple of plugs as always. Don't forget to use code WyattzWorld on G Fuel or Prize Picks, where you can save yourself a discount on any G Fuel products or match up to $100 of your first deposit. I actually just won another $100 on basketball last night. I'm telling you, knock on wood, basketball is kind of the way to go. Or this Sunday, you know, when you get the Patrick Mahomes free square. But always play responsibly, and let's get into the video. Alright everybody, so the pattern of today's video is we're just going NFC, then we're going AFC. Plain and simple. So beginning with the NFC North and the Minnesota Vikings, this is actually not my opinion for once. I went straight to my dad because there was no better person to ask, and I will believe whatever he says about the Vikings. And in my dad's opinion, the greatest Minnesota quarterback of all time is Fran Tarkenton. He said that man took Minnesota to 3 out of the 4 Super Bowls. He held all the passing records for quite a few years. My dad also constantly talks about the fact that this man apparently had eyes in the back of his head. Also, to help further the argument, he's a Hall of Famer, which, I mean, to be a Minnesota Viking Hall of Famer isn't exactly foreign, but to play in Minnesota for 13 years, not win anything, and still be considered one of the best? Well, then you're joining conversations of guys like Randy Moss and Adrian Peterson. GOATs. That'll bring us to the Green Bay Packers, and I'm going with Brett Favre because fuck Aaron Rodgers. I don't care if he has better precision. I don't care if he was smarter with the ball. I can't stand him. He's a tool. I'll take the guy with 71,000 passing yards and 500 passing touchdowns. Now we got the Lions. Matt Stafford, easily not really a question. I looked at their all-time leaders, and I mean, it's not even close between Stafford and the rest of them. And I know stats obviously aren't everything, but Matt Stafford is like the only known good quarterback to come out of Detroit. I mean, yeah, you have Goff now, but I mean, it's been nobody's. I mean, for comparison, Matt Stafford is in first at 45,000 passing yards and 282 touchdowns. In second place, Bobby Lane with 15,000 passing yards and 118 touchdowns. Like I said, it's not close. And ending the North, we got the Bears, and honestly, this is close because I think Smokin' Jay is technically still the best thrower they've ever had. However, winning-wise, Jim McMahon would be the way to go here. The other thing about Jim McMahon is the guy didn't pass for shit. He had Daniel Jones numbers every year, like 2,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. Jay at least hucked the ball down the field. It just looks like the guy hated his life every snap of the way. All right, now we're gonna go to the NFC South. So starting off with the Buccaneers, I'm giving it to Tom Brady. He played there for 3 years, won him 2 division championships and a Super Bowl. And I know they won a Super Bowl in 2005, and whoever the quarterback was, if it's Brad Johnson or whatnot, are you gonna say he's better than Tom Brady? Because you're wrong. Now we've got the Saints, Drew Brees. Not a lot of thinking on this one. Like I said before, this guy made 5,000 passing yards look like it was a normal thing to do. Now we got the Panthers, and I hate this. It's Cam Newton, and I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate him. But even as much as I do dislike Cam, I would have to give him the benefit and the credit. That one, when he came into the league, he was an athlete like we had never seen before. And for 2, he did help further revolutionize the running game into what it is today. You know, like guys like Randall and Vic had started it, and even Tarkenton. But Cam had also added another massive step to it, which he'll get the tip of the hat. I don't think you can be any more unlikable of a person. And then ending with the Falcons, Matt Ryan. This is kind of a Matt Stafford thing here. I looked at it. There's just nobody comparably close to has done as much for that franchise as Matt Ryan. Another thing about Matt is I know that wins aren't a quarterback stat necessarily, but he was 120 and 102. If you look at anybody else in the history of that franchise, like their winning records are not even considerably close to that either, which is kind of pathetic. And yeah, I know Michael Vick. I love Michael Vick, but he wasn't as good of a passer as Matt fucking Ryan in his prime. And now moving on to the NFC East with the Dallas Cowboys, we got Roger Staubach. No, it's not Troy Aikman. No, it's not Tony Romo. No, it's not Dak yet. Every time I talk good about Dak, my dad texts me. He did it last night. He was furious that I called him underrated. Dad, he is elite. Anyway, Roger played on the Dallas Cowboys from 1969 all the way to 1979. In that time, he won 2 Super Bowls, a Super Bowl MVP, had a career record of 85 wins and 29 losses. And I'm just happy I don't have to say Troy Aikman. Now we got the Eagles, and this one is Donovan McNabb, even though I do love Randall Cunningham, Mr. OG Swag. But McNabb actually had an elite career as a passer. Elite record too, 92 and 49, 32,000 passing yards, 216 touchdowns, 100 interceptions. It's just, we don't talk about Donovan McNabb outside of the Eagles. As far as I'm concerned, he never played for any other teams. And now moving on to Washington, I mean, the correct answer is Joe Theismann. He's the team's all-time passing leader. He has an outstanding record. He has a Super Bowl. But I do want to point out that Sonny Jurgensen, who was there just before him, appeared to have been a better passer. More accurate, I should say. And now ending, we got the Giants. Obviously, it's Eli Manning. And there's a group of people out there who hate him too and think that he was never anything special. You're tripping. He's 10th all-time in passing and has won 2 Super Bowls against the greatest player of all time. A matter of fact, if you didn't hear his rap the other day, he literally said, "I'm Eli Manning and I'm nice. Tom Brady's the GOAT. Psych. I beat him twice." And now ending the NFC, we got the West, and we'll start with the 49ers because they probably have the easiest one. It is Joe Montana. This guy is the Tom Brady if you ask someone over the age of 40. Like, seriously, go find your father or someone else, say who's the best quarterback of all time. They're gonna say Joe Montana. This guy's got 4 Super Bowls, 3 All-Pros, 2 MVPs, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, the list goes on. That'll bring us to Seattle, and it's Russell Wilson, whether you like it or not, and it's not really close if I'm being real. He has the best completion percentage in Seattle history by 5%. 292 touchdowns, 87 picks, won 1 ring, should've won 2. He was really good there. That'll bring us to the Rams. It's Kurt Warner. He's only 6th all-time for passing when you look at the Rams, but he is an NFL legend. He's a Super Bowl champion. He was deadly accurate, and he was a definite winner. My brother actually has a Christmas ornament of him. I think he still does. He had it when we were kids anyway. And ending, we got the Cardinals, and ironically, I probably could say Kurt Warner here too, but he wasn't a winner with the Cardinals like he was with the Rams. For the Cardinals, I'm gonna say Carson Palmer. He was not bad, he just wasn't anything special. Carson's 4th all-time for the Arizona franchise, 16,000 yards, 105 touchdowns, 57 picks. Finished with a record of 38 and 21, and the 3 guys above him, he also had a considerably higher completion percentage than. Arizona, you guys have never really had a long and elite quarterback, and I'm just seeing that now. All right, now going to the AFC, why don't we start with the AFC East? So Buffalo, their best quarterback of all time is Josh Allen. I don't even have to worry about that. I know he's not on top of all the leaderboards, but I've heard the old heads, the longtime Buffalo fans even say that this is the best quarterback they have ever had. Now we got the Dolphins, and I'm gonna give it to Dan Marino. I say that with hesitation because my dad said Bob Grease, or Greasy, but Dan nearly tripled this guy's stats. My dad just hates Dan Marino because he says Dan was terrible in the clutch. 60,000 yards, 420 passing touchdowns, I'm not ignoring that. Now we got the Jets, Chad Pennington? Played in New York for like 7 years, 13,000 passing yards, 100 touchdowns, 60 picks. I mean, the Jets haven't ever had anybody good. And if you're gonna say Joe Namath, get a grip. He was fucking horrible. 50% completion percentage, 170 touchdowns to 220 picks? No. And ending, we got the Patriots, Tom Brady. Feel kind of lazy doing this, but like, I don't need to explain anything. Next. All right, and now going down to the AFC South and starting with the Titans, we've got Steve McNair. And no, it's not Warren Moon because he played on the Houston Oilers. To be honest, I just wanted a reason to pick Steve McNair. I liked him in the games way back when. You go watch his tape now, he was an electric player. He could scramble, he could throw, had a career record of 91 and 62. And then he got stabbed to death by his girlfriend. Rest in peace. That'll bring us to the Colts. Again, kind of lazy here, but Peyton Manning, there's just no explaining that's needed. Texans, and no kidding, honestly, dead serious, CJ Stroud. He's the best quarterback they've ever had. It's not close. Maybe prime Deshaun, but I'd take CJ. You can take the records, you can take the stats, you can take whatever you want. CJ Stroud is the greatest quarterback they have ever been graced with. And ending with Jacksonville, we got Mark Brunell. They're another team that's just never had anything that great. And I do think Trevor is awesome, but this year was a little bit of a step back. I mean, Mark Brunell played there for 9 years, threw for 25,000 yards. He had a winning record. It also looked like he was a scrambler too. Like, he was a good player. Probably the best they've ever had. Just unfortunate that he also was not able to win them anything. All right, now we go to the AFC West, and we start with the Kansas City Chiefs. Alex Smith. That brings us to the Chargers. Unfortunately, I gotta say Phillip Rivers here. I don't like Phillip. Phillip's an asshole, and I want to say Herbert. But dude, we're talking about the 6th all-time passer. 421 touchdowns to 209 picks. A fantastic completion percentage, but he never won shit. And unless Jim can fix it, unfortunately, Justin Herbert's career is headed down the same exact path. Now we got the Broncos. John Elway, another one that you don't really have to explain all that much, especially for their franchise. I mean, obviously Peyton Manning was great, but John Elway played there for 16 years. He won him 2 championships. Gotta give it to the human horse. And now we'll end with the Raiders, and I'm going with my dad here, Ken Stabler. Not gonna lie, his statistics are fucking buns, but my dad claims this guy was just an absolute flamethrower. Gunslinger, didn't care who was down there, the ball was going. I mean, to be fair, his career record's 96 and 49. That's extremely honorable, especially with a Super Bowl championship in there. But this guy might be the most inaccurate GOAT I have ever seen declared. My dad also tells me multiple times in these text messages, you gotta remember the game was way different back then too, so take that into account. And now, ending with the AFC North, we will start with the Cleveland Browns. I gotta pull up the newspaper article from 1902 here, hold on. Dude, all of their top quarterbacks outside of Baker Mayfield, ancient. On top of that, none of them are necessarily good besides one, and that's Mr. Otto Graham. Now, take into account he played in 1946 to 1955, but this guy was 57 and 13 and a 3-time NFL champion. Just too bad that that was before the Super Bowl even existed. Next up, we got the Steelers, Terry Bradshaw, and I'm pleased to say this so I don't have to say Big Ben. Blonde Bomber won 4 Super Bowls. He was an MVP for 2 of them. Now, he was also an inaccurate son of a bitch, but if you have 4 rings on your hand, I ain't gonna say shit about it. Next up, we got the Bengals, and I wanted to say Boomer Esiason here, but I've actually switched my mind. It's Joe Burrow. He's the best quarterback they've ever had. And Andy Dalton's respectable too, honestly. He wasn't a bad Bengal, but Joe Burrow is without a doubt the best thrower they have had as their quarterback. He's a winner, he's clutch, he's deadly accurate, he brought that franchise to the Super Bowl within his first 2 years of being there. I would take him over the rest. And ending, we've got the Ravens, and it's Joe Flacco. However, Lamar Jackson isn't far off at all. The only one up that Joe really has is the fact that he got the job done. He got the ring. Now, if Lamar ever wants to catch him statistically, especially in the passing yards, he's gonna have to play in Baltimore forever. But I'm not saying that's what it needs to take for him to overtake Joe. I'm not even saying he needs to win a championship, but Lamar needs to play longer in order for him to overtake the throne than a guy who sat there from 2008 to 2018, won him a ring, and threw 38,000 yards in the process. So Joe Flacco is my Ravens' current GOAT. And that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen, for my opinion on the greatest quarterback for every NFL team. Let me know where you guys agree. Let me know where you disagree in the comments. I had a ton of fun making this video, and if you guys did enjoy it, you already know what to do to show support. However, with everything I said, I'm going to hop off and get this edited so you guys can watch it on time. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and as always, I will see you in the next video.